Hello guys, today we are going to learn about GraphQL, which is very important sometimes or multiple times. Actually, it is asked in interview questions like what is the difference between REST and GraphQL. So the, I will tell you about GraphQL. GraphQL is a kind of a query. I would say endpoint writing mechanism actually, where user gives some request inputs and it expects some output, but there are single API which is exposed. There is not a lot of REST endpoints, multiple endpoints exposed, only one endpoint for all. Just like if you remember in the Lord of the Rings, it was saying like one ring to rule them all. Similarly, here we have one endpoint to rule all the endpoints. Basically, you can have only one endpoint and get multiple outputs, which is required. Okay, so let's proceed. First, do you want to go if for the theory? So GraphQL, let me show the official database site. Here you can see, not this one. Yeah. So here it is the query language for modern APIs. It is saying type safe schemas. Schema means structures, fixed structures, secure requests, frictionless distributed development, data-driven UI at scale, right? So here you can see different companies, big companies are using GraphQL because it is open source and trusted by the industry. So here you can see Facebook's mobile apps have been powered by GraphQL since 2012. The GraphQL specification was open source in 2015. So basically, it is the GraphQL is developed by Facebook, uh, now Meta, and you can see here Meta, AWS, Airbnb, Twitter. These many companies are using GraphQL, right? So here you can see many companies are using GraphQL. So nothing new here. Everything is something awesome. Learn GraphQL, you can go for tutorials here. You can see GraphQL structural tutorials. Many things are there, right? So we are not JS or other technology guy. We are only Java backend guy. So we are going to learn GraphQL using Java Spring Boot, right? So here there are some questions, some things like what is the difference between GraphQL versus REST. You can use GraphQL in React, Vue. These are for front-end guys, and we are back-end guys, so we will use only Java, right? So here you can see back-end tutorial. No, not the .NET. Yeah. So you can choose our language, whatever the language is, and then you can go for that. So here, oh my God, here this is what we are looking for. GraphQL with Java tutorial with server and API example. So GraphQL has rapidly gained popularity in Java ecosystem, offering a flexible and efficient alternative to the traditional REST API. But don't worry, REST APIs are still very powerful and they are used at many industries. As developers seek more powerful ways to handle complex data requirements, GraphQL stands out as a robust solution for building modern APIs. Writing modern APIs, actually GraphQL is very, I would say, tougher task than REST endpoint. REST endpoints you do nothing, like you go simply write a controller inside it. You write a method which can do some stuff, and then you simply need to use @get mapping, post mapping, put mapping, delete, something like that. You need to use, and your endpoint, REST endpoint is already ready. You need to annotate the class with the REST controller, so your REST endpoint is already ready. But in GraphQL, things are very much complex. Actually, it is not that easy. You have to first define a schema, and for a schema, once you decided, then you need to write the user, entity classes, controller, everything related to that only, repository and that all. We will do that. We will see everything. Just I wanted to take you for some theory here. So here you can see traditional resolver base. So there was some resolver. Don't go into that. Okay. Just here I wanted to take you here. Here you can see we have a GraphQL structure. This is the schema. Here you can see type. This is the syntax actually. Type, you have book. Type, you have author. Type, you have query. Right? So this is the schema. Like a book is having ID, title, this. Author is having ID, name, something like that. So corresponding to this, there would be a Java class like book Java class, and it would have some these kind of different fields. Similarly, author would be a Java class, entity class you can have, that would be connecting with the database ID, name, biography, these things. And then you have a query. Query is basically your get API. So get API, there would be a method corresponding to it, and the name of the method would be book, and ID would be its a parameter, right? So you will write something like the public return type is book, so public book, then this method which will have ID type of ID, right? So this kind of query would be there, and when you have run it successfully on the server, then you can query for book ID is equal to 1, what you want. So remember here, after in the query section, in the parenthesis, what is there? This is the type argument, the argument which you want to pass. So this is equivalent to, suppose if you are dealing with REST endpoints, then if you are passing into query param, something like that, right? Query param, path param, something like that. So this is that thing, and title and then author and then name. This is the response you are expecting. So for book ID 1, give me what this query says. It says for book with ID 1, I want to query for book with ID 1, and what I want to want in the response, I need title, author, name, right? So these three things, basically author and its name, basically author name it wants, the title of the book and the author name it wants in the response. So this is the meaning of this query. Cool. Don't go into these things. This is nothing. Okay, these are the database. Yeah. So forget everything. We can do this, but for now, I have a very easy GraphQL project for you. So what we need to do first, we need to go to Spring Boot initializer. Let's start some coding. Here we need few things like here you can name it like GraphQL, right? And add dependencies. So what dependencies are important here? Since we are dealing with GraphQL, we need GraphQL. We would need a Lombok for entity classes, maybe poses, plain poses, and Spring, maybe web for annotations handling. And if we are dealing with S2 database, we can use S2 database dependencies. If we are using Postgres or MySQL, we can do that. So here we are simply going to use S2 database for just understanding, right? We don't want to store everything in DB, just we are going to use in-memory database, which is S2 database. Cool. So these things we are going to need. So now click on generate, right? And The spelling mistakes is there, right? GraphQL, okay. So this is going to be a Java project, my one dependency is this version and Java 21. So once click on generate, it is going to generate these things, right? Just click on generate. It is going to download that. Yeah, just click on save. It will download it and then unzip it, right? Once you unzip it, what will happen? Just do that. You just copy it in some place where you want to do. I have all my projects in single folder, so I just copied it here. Now what you need to do, go to IntelliJ and open the pom.xml file, right? What you need to do, click on open and then browse till the file where it is. In my case, it is in there, and then projects, and where it is, yes. Now go again, file, open, browse to your folder, which is my case documents, tab, projects, where is GraphQL, and then click on pom.xml and then open. Then once you open it, it will ask for open as project. Click on this and it will open. So here we have our project, right? Now for GraphQL, first let's understand the project structure. So there would be Java main resources, right? In resources there would be a folder GraphQL. This would be created automatically, right? And in application.property, let's do some stuff like here nothing more. We have S2. First let's go to the pom.xml, like what dependencies we have. So here you can see we have GraphQL dependencies because we use SpringBoot starter GraphQL. Then WebMVC, forget this Postgres. Lombok we have, and then we have SpringBoot starter GraphQL test and Spring Data JPA and Spring S2 database, right? So these things are there. Now let's go to S2 database properties file. So if you do not have application.properties file in this folder resources, just go and create it. Otherwise, generally it comes with initializer, Spring Boot initializer project. So now copy and paste these settings. S2 console.enable true, then S2 console, then data main things are data source URL. You can use console to be true, DDL auto create, and then true. Update is not going to work here because all since it is an in-memory database, once you restart the server, all the savings which you have done would be lost. So create is the only option we have here for S2 database. Now let's go to Java file. Here you will see the GraphQL application. This is only thing, right? You won't be having any other folders. So controller, entity, repository, these are the standard. There would be service. So these are the standard packages, so which we will see into a moment. In a moment. Now let's go to the schemas, which is important. So look at this simple schema. It is a user with ID, name, email. So what would be its corresponding class? There would be a entity class here in the inside entity. There would be ID, name, email, and some more fields. But ID, name, and email should be there, right? You can delete this phone also. Let's I have kept it for query, but yeah, you can have these things also. Let me update our schema. Maybe where is schema? Our phone is string, right? So we can do this something like that and then save it. So we have four fields. Our class should be exact mapping of that. So here you can see it is an entity class. So we have annotated it with Jakarta persistence.entity, something like that. And then table, then this is from Lombok. Cool guys, so very simple project class, nothing more, nothing extra, just very much just like it is matching with the GraphQL schema. So we have this user. Now there are two types, two ways actually to query the database, right? To query the database in GraphQL. One way is like, if you know, there are CRUD operations, right? CRUD, CRUD for create, read, update, delete, right? So create is kind of write, then read is get methods, right? So it is kind of read operations. So query is used for read operations, and for write operations like create, update and delete. These are write operations, right? Write means WRIT, write operations. So for read we have query, and for write may be like create, update, delete. These kind of queries we have mutation. So remember these two things very important, query and mutation. Cool. Now let's understand what is this query. It is not a comment. Let me make it a comment. Yeah. So here let's understand what is query and how this is defined. So here in the query we have a method. You can see get user, which is having ID as an argument, and then its return type is user. So you can imagine its corresponding Java class, how it should look. It should be like public, then return type is user, so user, then get user, then ID is ID, right? Something like that should be the method. So here we have a controller class, you can see, and then we have get user. You can see here long ID. Where is ID? It is argument. You can, here you can see the two annotations are important. One is query mapping. For queries we have query mapping. For mutations we have mutation mapping. Mutation means write, update, delete or create, and read we have query mapping. Cool. I think it is clear to you till here. Now let's understand this method only. Here from the schema we have get user, then ID, then user. So the method should be public, then user, then get user, something like that. Let's see. Here we have public, then user, then get user, and argument is ID. Just you can see here argument is ID. Cool. So this is very simple means method definition here. Cool. And what it is going to do in this line, you actually we are directly calling repository. We could have service in complex projects. We can have service, then some logic, then we can call repository. So there could be service layer. For since it is very simple project, I am directly using a repository from controller. It is not good practice to use a repository directly from controller. We generally use services, and from service we call repositories, right? That's why there is well-defined structure like MVC, right? And now let's understand the other method. So you can imagine, you can also by yourself you can write its structure. Let's try to write it. It should be like get users, right? It is empty, so nothing is there. And then column, its return type is list of users. So in schema there would be array kind of, basically this what we call it, square bracket, right? This square bracket is used, so you can understand it with a square bracket. It is a array or more number of users, like list of users, or it can be array of users, right? So this could be your syntax. Let's go there. Here you can see we have, okay, one more one error. If you don't have any argument, then you can leave it, right? Otherwise it will give error, so no parenthesis required. Yeah, so simply get users, which is an no argument method is returning list of users. Cool. So till here I think it is clear. You can write simply the method is very simple, repository.find all. Cool. Now let's see the post method, which is a create user, which is here you can see it is having 3 arguments, right? One is ID, second is name, and third is email. So these 3 arguments. So how will you write this schema? There would be method with create user ID, then ID is kind of ID, then a string, then email, right? Colon colon colon, something like that. Yeah, here you can see create user name email. It is only using 2 things for creating. ID it is auto generating, so not a big deal. Here you can also pass maybe your mobile number. So here if you want you can write phone as a string, right? So this will also be work. Now what it is going to do, it is going here. So these 3 things are argument, right? It is a mutation mapping. So what it is going to do, it is going to create a new user, setting the things which are which arguments are passing. So name, email, ID, everything it is passing. You can set it here the phone also, set phone, and then you can pass the phone. Okay, it is not passed here. Let me pass it as an argument phone, which is of type string. So it is going to save into S2 database, right? Now we can do, let me just stop the server. Okay, so cool, we are done. I think we have our repository class. Let's see, it's doing nothing, just type user, which is the entity, and then it's the it's primary key, right? So here we have T and then ID. Yeah, T is for table, entity table. So we have our application. Now let's I hope you are very much clear till here. We have this S2 database configuration, this URL paths to access GraphQL. Server is running on a port 8080. We have this very simple file user, right? And GraphQL controller is defining those 3 methods, which is fetching data from the S2 database, and we have this user. Now let's run this server. Let's see what is happening, and we need to go to that location. Which location it was? Application.graphql, this file, right? So where it is in not this tutorial, localhost s2 local cs2 localhost 8080, right? Yeah, this is the path guide GraphQL, something like this. URL should be, the path should be there. Let it open. Oh, awesome, you can see it is opening, right? So this is the localhost URL for GraphQL generally, and let's see our APIs. Where is our API endpoints, right? So here in the docs you can see we have query and mutation, right? So how many queries we have in our file? If you can see there, here we have 2 query methods. One is get user and get users, 2 methods, right? So in the query these 2 methods should be here only. Oh my god, awesome. Here you can see get user and get users with ID and list of users, with ID and list of users, right? So successfully it is loaded here, and let's see mutation. There in mutation what is there? Create user with name, email, phone, right? So create user is having name, email and phone. Awesome, exactly same this you can see, and return type is simple user, right? So now how to uh, uh, how to use them, how to use create user and then get user, something like that, right? So here you can see the simple syntax for get user is, for graph database, this query is important. Like if it is mutation, then you need to write mutation, and if it is query, then you need to write query. Query for get, right? And mutation, it can have delete, update, and create. So since here we are going to create user, it is also a mutation. It is going to change the database, right? So for first I want to show you the query. Like if we do get user with ID 1 and we want in the response we need the ID, name and email of that user. So what is going to happen? It is saying get user. You can see data is null, right? Data is null because there is no data in this database right now, because just now we started the server. So let's create a user. So here you can see what I'm doing. I am having mutation create user name is equal to Rahul, email is equal to Rahul, something like that, and it is going to save it. And in response, what I want ID, name, and email of the user. So here you can see user is created with the ID. If you see here, we don't have passed ID, right? But it is sending. Let's have some more thing. Let's say we want font, right? So what is the font? We can give something like this 662, right? Now here instead of Rahul, okay, let me do it again. Look at here closely. Here we did Rahul. Here we pass name, email, and phone number, right? And here output is ID, name, email. We want for ID, email, but we didn't ask for phones. And if we want phone, what we need to, we need not to go and use another endpoint, just like REST endpoints, right? We need not to create a different endpoint which returns the response to the phone. So here you can see whatever you want. Suppose I want only phone number, then what we are going to do, we are going to simply get the phone number. We pass like phone, I want phone only, it is giving you phone. So in the REST endpoints, it could have been a kind of a headache. REST endpoints give you all response, right? Just like this, REST endpoints always give all entire response, and you have to pick what you want. But in GraphQL, the beauty of GraphQL is like if you tell what you want. You want name? Okay, I will give you name. You want email? I will give you email. You want phone? I will give you phone. Suppose you want only email of the user, right? So here you can see I want email, user is created. I want ID. Here I want everything. Suppose I have here not Rahul, Xavier. So it is going to be xavier@email.com, the same phone number. Let me change something. Right. So new user is created. Suppose here is Ravi, and then we have Ravi. Some more new number, maybe 7. So Ravi. Okay. Now I think you got the mutation concept and the response style in GraphQL. Like if it would have been a REST endpoints, you should basically you have to create multiple endpoints, right? Suppose I want to give only Ravi name and phone, then for that you have to create a different endpoint. Plus, you got it? If you're not, just understand. If you have you are passing only name for create user in a REST endpoint, then what you have to do? You have to create one endpoint, and suppose you are now passing two more fields, then there would be error. If you are hitting on the same endpoint, it would say like number of arguments did not match, something like that, right? So what is the, so here in the GraphQL you are not going to get any error. That's the beauty, right? You can pass all the fields which are there in the schema, and it will accept. And also the response is controlled. Look, the response, you want ID, okay, I will give you ID. You want name only, I will give you name only. You want email only? I will give you email only. That's the beauty. But in REST endpoint, you will be given all the data, entire data from the database, right? Entire database, and the developer basically he chooses what he wants to show. So he suppose in REST endpoint, suppose this kind of response is coming. If a user developer wants to show the name, then he will pick the name from entire data, right? But in GraphQL, if you want name only, don't worry, man. I am there. I am heavy less. Let's see. You want name? I will give you a name. So this is GraphQL for you guys. It's very simple and easy to. I hope you are able to understand the difference between REST endpoints and this GraphQL and the concept, like the actual practical concept difference. So I hope now you can tell, right? So now let me show you theory wise. If I can show you what is the difference between REST and Graph. Difference between yes, GraphQL and REST. This I wanted to show you actually, because practically you saw. Here you can see data fetching. The client specifies the exact data. Endpoints return fixed data in REST cases, right? You exposes a single URL endpoint. So here you can see this single URL. This is the single URL, right? We did not have anything like question mark, then some query params or path params. We are not giving that. So this is a single endpoint. Awesome, man, awesome. It is wonderful actually. Then architecture, client driven architecture, GraphQL, server driven. Here you can have, yeah, and replicated versioning is not important. Yeah, so these kind of differences are there. You go by yourself to understand GraphQL. My goal was to show you working project with Spring Boot and this GraphQL, right? So we can do some more complex queries like mutations and queries in GraphQL. Maybe next in other project while we would be working on a large project. But for now, basics. I hope you are clear. Cool guys. See you. Stay tuned with NukkadCode.